So there's a ton of different openers, and they all have their pros and cons. Okay, so the direct open, hey, you're cute, I wanted to meet you, has its pros and cons. The pro is that for a girl that's receptive to it, you've clearly said this is a man-to-woman conversation. You've gotten that, out into the conversation, and anything that happens from there will be with that understood, right? So you're gonna get the con is that like girls are gonna assess you immediately. Would I sleep with this guy? And if the answer is no, they're gonna be like, wow, sorry, not interested. I have a boyfriend, whatever. All right. So the downside is you're gonna get more immediate rejections off of a direct open. The upside is the ones that don't immediately reject you should be fairly on, right? And so for beginners, I like it because you want sets that are on or off, because you probably don't know how to take sets that are kind of in between and make them go well. But if the girl seems to like you right away and you've already conveyed it right away, then you can turn those into something, right? So at a beginner level, I actually like direct for that reason, because you will get some rejections, but the ones that accept you will accept you in a strong way and have a set that has good positive momentum towards a close. So that's the positive of direct. The positive indirect, at least good indirect, hopefully, is that it buys you time to convey your personality and talk with the girl a little bit before you have to put your cards on the table and say, hey, this is for sex, right? So if you're going to convey your personality in a positive way, then that can be helpful. So for intermediate advanced guys who are going to probably hopefully convey themselves better, that can be a good way to go. However, the downside for even intermediate and advanced, but especially for beginners, is that when they go indirect, when they go indirect, they oftentimes don't ever get around to the premise, right? So like, hey, so I need directions. They give you the directions, like, okay, cool, well, so, all right, bye, right? And you never get there, right? Or even if you ask an opinion on something, like, hey, so if you notice this, then this and this thing about London, and they just have that one conversational topic. As soon as that conversational topic is done, it's over. So you're going to have to reopen anyway, and it's going to look exactly like what it is, which is that you're beating around the bush and trying to avoid it until you had to. But there's also ways to go semi-direct or soften direct, right? So for example, push-pull direct, and be like, that is the fucking craziest outfit. You're either going to be super cool or super weird. I had to come find out though. Something like that it's still direct, it's still indicating interest, but it's indicating provisional interest or interest with some reservations or something like that. So that can be another really good way to go. All of them can work. Even directions can work. It's not my favorite by any means, but even it can work as long as you get off of that subject and onto decent conversation really, really fast. But regardless, there's no way to avoid eventually being man to woman and showing premise. You're gonna have to do it sooner or later. Right, so it's just a question of, are you going to do it right up front and take some rejections, but make sure that like you've just gotten it out there, or are you going to like be a little more indirect and subtle, and then have to be a little more skillful about how you create the premise, but get maybe a higher percentage of sets to open in the first place. First of all, at some point you want to validate the girl, right? Ideally, when you have sex with a girl, it feels very validating for her, right? Also, when the girl does qualify to you, you want to reward that good behavior and let her win you. So eventually you do want to validate the girl. You just want to be careful not to validate the girl so much that she feels no sexual tension, right? This is a funny thing, I don't know if validate's the right word, I probably give more compliments and more sexual advances and more things that potentially could validate a girl within my set than most of you guys do. But I also mix that in with way more negative spikes and teases and polarity and fucking around than you guys do. And so on net, there's a bunch of negatives, a bunch of positives. And on net, I'm probably less positive than you guys are and less complimentary and flattering to her. But I'm doing more things that are validating, more things that are complimentary, more things that are triggering that emotional spike. I'm just balancing it out with other stuff. Right. So if you pulled a slot machine and you got rewarded every single time, you'd like the money that comes out of it, but it would be boring to you. If you were, here's a funny thing. If there was such a thing as being a professional slot machine player, and you could pull it and you could make $5 an hour by pulling the slot machine, it seems like good. You could beat the slot machines. You would hate your job, especially if it was like every single pull was exactly like 10 cents, like pull for 10 cents, pull for 10 cents, pull for 10 cents. That would be the most egregious, awful job you could possibly imagine. You would hate it and you'd probably want to commit suicide. Right? It would be awful, even though you'd be making money. Whereas people go to the slot machines and lose money hand over fist and enjoy the shit out of it. Why? Because of variable reward. Because it's exciting for them when they get the payout, and it's unpredictable, they don't know when it's coming, etc. So that variable reward. So keeping it unpredictable. So actually validating the girls really do like it. But if all you do is validate them and validate them and validate them, you're predictable, you're boring, it's no fun for them, and the validation itself actually isn't worth as much. But if you validate them occasionally and devalidate them sometimes, and sometimes have normal conversations unpredictable to them, and you keep the tension and keep them on their toes and wondering, that's when it actually works. Okay? So it's a variable reward. But don't be the guy that's like, I will never validate a girl. Validate her sometimes. Devalidate her other times. Totally fine.